Hi, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Dr. Leann Schouten, and I will be presenting for you today on social skills across the lifespan. Where's my clicker? Here we go. Okay. New setup. Just have to get used to it. I am your professional advisory committee chair member, so I'm on the board. I am a speech and language pathologist. I own a private practice, a multidisciplinary private practice. I've been in speech therapy for about 25 years now. I found the amazing NODCC through a couple clients. I presented at the Costa Mesa conference in 2018. And at that point in time, I had a couple people approach me and I started advising, and then I joined the board, and now you guys just can't get rid of me. So I'm here for you. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions. I am a wife, a mom. I have two grown, amazing children. My son was diagnosed with cancer at one point in time, and from there we started a foundation. He's great now. He's a pilot. My daughter is in Rochester studying for engineering. So I'm traveling all over the place. So I'm happy to come see you and find any excuse to travel to your city to help you out. So we're going to be talking a lot about behaviors, social skills, getting into everything that our individuals with DCC have. From this, I'm going to have you hold questions till the very end, and please use the app. And you can put your questions on there, and I'll make sure to have enough time at the end to answer any questions that you may have. So getting into behavior and DCC, we know from some of our amazing researchers that are here this weekend, Dr. Brown, Dr. Paul, Dr. Shear, they're all here. The research is telling us that individuals with DCC have deficits in problem solving, memory, encoding, sequential reasoning. They have difficulty learning new rules. This is where we have to, if anybody wants these slides, you are more than welcome to email me and I will send them to you so you don't have to take photos. I'm happy to send those to you. And for those of you live streaming as well, if you'd like them, at the very end, my email will pop up and you are more than welcome to email me, and I'm happy to share. We know that they have difficulty learning new rules. This is where our kids are very big on following the rules. So if you break the rules because you're tired, you're exhausted, you just don't know, and you're like, yeah, just this once. Nope, that's the new rule. The rule is I get it whenever I want. So you do have to be careful about breaking your rules. You don't want to do that. Because that's the new rule, and they will remember that. It is a game of chess with our kids. They are so smart, and they are always at check with us and ready to say checkmate. So they have trouble processing complex social interactions, subtle interpersonal emotional information. They have difficulties with emotions, less likely to use feeling words. They have socially immature, poor self-awareness. They're more have more difficulty with emotional processing and comprehension of those higher level skills. We know that at around third grade is when individuals should start processing higher level language, complex language, getting into figurative language, inferencing, chapter books. So at around that time is when we start to see individuals have more difficulties because the language has progressed beyond them. In 2019, there's a study by Brown and Paul that go into additional information where they really start to expand upon the deficits. And that's a great research article, because I know you guys all want to do research on the side because you guys are all doing it. And go. There we go. So let's go. We're going to, in this talk today, we're going to go from preschool all the way through adults. We're going to look at everything, and then we're going to get into treatment. and get into just some things that you guys can do at home. I'll give you some app ideas, some websites, and some information that way, just to kind of get you going and give you hopefully some tools. So in children, we know that they act younger than their age. They avoid eye contact. I am not a fan of the eye contact goal. It is not a good goal, especially with our youngsters, because they don't understand why. Why do I have to look at you? I mean, so I always do the social peek. Like, hey, let me know you're thinking about me. You know, just kind of, or I see them, oh, you looked at me, you're thinking about me. And I'll take that. I won't take this because you get that forced eye contact. It just becomes unnatural. I'll do little things of, hey, what am I thinking about? What am I thinking about? And so they start to see that I'm thinking about my watch. I'm thinking about the remote. They see that and they start to learn that your eyes let me know what you're thinking about. So if you look at me, oh, you were thinking about me. Thank you. Our little ones, they don't answer. They refuse active games. They're unresponsive to affection. They show little affection or they are withdrawn. So what have our studies shown? Our studies have found that children with DCC begin to demonstrate emotional difficulties around age 5. So we're starting to get to that area when they're young, where they're having difficulties. They start to withdraw. They have clinical ranges and behaviors that are similar to PDD, pervasive developmental disorder. And we know that the speech problems, appear more frequently. You start to see more deficits and more delays with their speech and language. And what happens when you're not able to communicate? Well, the frustration goes way up. And so now we have behaviors that are going way up. So what are we going to do to help with that? So we start getting into our elementary kids. Elementary is a tough age because puberty has now started to hit. You know, there's so many feelings and big feelings that are happening. And we need to make sure that we're addressing all of those feelings and emotions. So in our younger kids, 6 to 11, we know that they start to become overly dependent. You're trying to get them to be more independent and they're starting to be overly dependent upon you. They start to feel lonely. They don't get along with others. They're jealous of others. They feel that other people are out to get them. They're accident prone or clumsy. They're teased, not liked, bullied. They prefer to be with younger children. Why? Because younger children are not treating them this way. There's a comfort level there. They're at their age, sometimes their intellectual level. They know that that person is going to be kind to them, where someone their own age will not be. And speech and language delays are definitely prevalent and precedent in this age range because individuals are having difficulty expressing themselves. Again, playing with somebody younger than them because they're having difficulty relating to somebody their own age. Going on to middle and high school years. These are tough years. They want, hopefully, to start showing some independence. We want them to start to be independent. Click. There we go. We're starting to see lower performance across a variety of self-referential. So we start to see them where they are seeing themselves as different. And they're starting to get emotionally unsure about themselves. They have lower performance on social cognitive measures. Speech and language delays are a big impact. We know that kids up until around the age 5, you know, that ability to learn language is going pretty strong. And maybe the gap is down here. So that gap is low between what they need to learn to catch up. But all of a sudden they hit around 6, 7, and their ability to learn language starts to go down and that gap starts to get bigger. So when we get to high school, we cross. So now the gap is very big sometimes with those speech and language delays, and those abilities to learn language have dropped significantly. So that's when we start getting into ADLs and looking at activities of daily living. What does this individual need to make them successful to going into their young adulthood? They start to get teased and bullied by others. They're understanding it more, and having that cognitive and social language delay is definitely an impact for them. So we start to look at adults. We're hoping to transition people into independent living, to group homes, to workability programs, to where they're able to function and go to college for some and continue on. But socially, what is happening? Our adults have difficulty reading the face. So now you're in a group setting with other adults, and there's so much expression that is being said with the face, and they're having difficulty understanding what somebody is meant by looking at them and giving them that kind of that awkward look. And they don't understand that. Lower emotion identification from eyes. Well, we know that they have difficulty looking at eye contact and making eye contact. So of course, as they get older, they're going to have some difficulty getting relevant information from the eyes. What am I looking at? What am I thinking about? What's happening? That is all coming from the eyes. Clinically significant impaired in facial recognition. Again, looking at the face. This all needs to start early on. When you are in with your speech therapist, your occupational therapist, your teachers, even at home, family is like the biggest impact for social skills, because those are teachable moments then. Anything that happens at home, when you're making that face, you're doing something like you're pointing it out, they're learning from that. The home is the best place to learn social skills. And we'll definitely talk about that. Our adults start to have performance fear. They start to avoid social situations. And the anxiety level starts to go up because they know socially they have to be a part of society, or it's impacting their job, where now they're hoping to get a job, but they need to find the right job, or maybe where they're not interacting with so many people because of the anxiety and because of the social pressure. So social skills. What are social skills? We have social skills every day. We do our social skills every day. You probably don't realize everything that you're doing is socially, your body language, your eye contact, your movement, simple things with your mouth, your eyes. That's all social language that people look at, that nonverbal language. I'm up here using my hands a lot. That's a lot of nonverbal language. But if I was up here super stiff, that might present a different type of image for you. So social skills are how we are using that language to get across socially and to make friends and to be a part of society. So what difficulties can we have? Social skills looks at, nonverbal behaviors, that eye gaze, making eye contact with somebody. How many times a day do you look at your spouse or look at your child and give them those eyes of just kind of looking at them like, hey, like it's time to go? Or the eyes of, you're like, stop it. We do that one too. So your gestures, you're looking at your child, you're like, stop. You tell them to sit down and knock it off. My son knew sign language. He had hearing problems as a child, and constantly it was like and now it was all he knew right then and there. You better stop it. No. And he would do that. And it was so funny because as he got older, he would kind of sign back to me and do things like that. And it kind of became a game for us. But that's all that nonverbal, where he would just see it on your face. We all know that look a mom can give a child where they're just going to stop dead in their tracks. That's all nonverbal language. So difficulties also involve that failure to develop peer relationships appropriately at that developmental level of the individual. So that's where we start to tend to go to younger individuals. We're starting to hang out with teenagers, or we're hanging out with peer groups that are younger than ours because they're more accepting. We're functioning at that level. So we're going to go to that level. We feel more comfortable. A lack of spontaneous seeking to share enjoyment, interest, or achievements with other people. You know, getting out there, tell me how you're feeling. How was your day today? I mean, even typical kids, how was your day today? Great. So don't fret too much. But as we get older and we're in our adults, and you are an adult and you're trying to share about your day and you're having difficulty talking about how things are going and how you're feeling, remember there's that anxiety piece too. And now I want you to talk about your day. And now I'm going to pry and share social information with me when you're at this level of possibly having anxiety. And then the lack of social and emotional reciprocity. Having difficulty, give it back to me. How are you feeling? Those hugs. I am a huge hugger, and my poor kids have to deal with that because we're at dinner and I'm constantly rubbing somebody's back. Um, I know for me emotionally, that calms me down. It makes me feel better. But if you don't have that ability, to share that, what do you do with that? Where do those feelings go? If I'm doing this to you and you're not too sure what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, or you don't like it because emotionally you're not there, then I have to help you get there. And we'll definitely get into some therapy. So looking at conversational social communicators. So what can we exhibit? We have the basics. Our DCC kids have the basics, but they don't describe in full, rich language. They're not going to be able to give you that full, expansive. And it was really interesting. I was in a session yesterday with Dr. Shear, and he talked about that, how our individuals with DCC provided this much information based on a story, where typical individuals provided this much information. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's so accurate into what I'm seeing in social skills, how they're not developing, that full rich language to share at that level. So we know that they can exhibit the following: a great social radar. They know who they're going to want to be friends with and who they're going to stay away from. They know who the bullies are. And you'll see that. And maybe they won't tell you, but I don't want to go play with that. I don't want to talk to that person. No, I'm okay. I'm going to go over here. They have metacognition, that higher level. They have it. They might need to work on the higher level skills, but it is there. They understand perspectives. This is very different from individuals with autism. Very different. So our kids with DCC are very different than kids with autism, because a lot of children with autism don't understand perspective taking, but our kids with DCC do. The lack of perception to subtleties. So kind of like those little nuances they're having difficulty with. Nonverbal, again, eye contact, nonverbal body language. What's happening with my body? The anxiety level. The blenders and faders with anxiety. So looking at information, it's like that's that whole describing information. They function under the radar. How many of your kids and adults are great at adapting to the situation and just kind of going where they need to go and kind of hiding out? Where they're not, well, why don't you go talk to this person? No, I'm good. I'm gonna be over here. They kind of find their people and they find where they want to go. And they know that they're going to avoid this type of a person or this type of a setting. And they're going to go over here and just kind of blend in over here, and you're not going to notice. So they're very good at reading the room. But these are all skills that we need to monopolize on. We need to use these skills and help our kids grow. So let's take a look at the social communicators, the strengths and the weaknesses or challenges. We know that they have average to above average verbal skills. Some have average to above average IQs. They might have very bright in areas of special interest and global knowledge. Some have super strong language and solid academic skills. But the challenges then come with executive functioning. That's that higher level language skill. Those chapter books, it's remembering information. It's that friend file that you got to remember way back what happened with this person. Inferencing, what's going to happen? What will happen if I do this? Cause and effect. Spontaneous interactions, excuse me. They may monopolize or withdraw from the conversation. Have you noticed that? How your individual will be in a conversation and all of a sudden the topic switches to something they don't like, so they're off and oh, you're like, oh, where'd you go? Because they're not in, nope, I'm good. And they walk away. Challenges definitely with being bullied, but remember, they know who the bullies are. Majority of our kids know that this person is not a nice person. I'm going to stay away from them. They may isolate with books and avoid group work. Adults may seem as charming and struggle to recognize difficulties. I was having a conversation with a parent here today, and I had an adult join the conversation and was just happy to be there. But the conversation was kind of private, and I had to look at the adult and go, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I need to talk to her privately. Is that okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, thanks." And she walked away. But I had to kind of cue her into this is a private conversation because what we were talking about was definitely something that I didn't want her to be a part of. Sensory problems, sensory difficulties can start from early on and go all the way. We know that depending upon the sensory need, it can be an oral sensitivity, it could be a finger dexterity, it could be a texture of chewing, many different sensory concerns that we need to have looked at and are addressing. And they have a high risk of OCD, depression, and anxiety, which we've talked about. I know you guys are like, Leann, get to the how, what do we do? Come on. There we go. So our considerations, we're going to look at that well-developed language skills, that age-appropriate vocabulary. They may interpret language literally. So that's that higher level language. We're having difficulty with that cause and effect. Less attuned to nonverbal communication. Difficulty with self-regulation. How many of you have kids where is this a big deal or a little deal? Because it is turning into a big deal and you are making this way bigger than it should be. And they start to blow up and you're like, let's bring it back. This is a little problem. We're okay here. And you're trying to just help them self-regulate and understand the size of the problem. And they may not accurately interpret others' expressions. All right, let's get into behavior. So this is a lot. There's a lot on these slides just because I wanted to give you just so much information because I felt that it was really important because we talk about reinforcement and behavior. Reinforcement, we know, is that consequence that increases the likelihood of the behavior being repeated. It's unique to each individual. We want to look at, that reinforcement. Is it a sweet treat or increased freedom or reinforcement along those lines? It kind of works for some people. What do you want? Oh, you want that book. You want that toy. You want this. That's that reinforcement of a behavior. So in behaviorism, there's two types of reinforcement, a positive and a negative. So if we look at a positive reinforcement, we're going to add a factor to increase the behavior. So what are we adding? We want something great to come out of this. So you're going to do this to get this. In a negative reinforcement, I'm going to remove it to increase the behavior. Well, you don't get the iPad until this happens. That's taking it away. That's a negative reinforcement. That's something that they want. So you have that positive and negative. We're going to look at it again. That positive reinforcement, the addition of something pleasant in order to increase or maintain a behavior. Give a sticker, time on the iPad, verbal praise, get a book. Alone time is sometimes. Time with mom, time with dad is sometimes a wonderful positive reinforcement that doesn't cost a thing. That negative reinforcement, the removal of something unpleasant in order to increase or maintain. So I'm going to remove the grounding period, or I'm going to shorten your punishment because you completed your work. Hey, because you did that, we're going to take this away. You're going to take away a chore because the other chores were completed without complaint. So, wow, you did all this. Hey, you don't need to, I'll take out the trash for you because you did all of these. Thank you so much for getting that done. So now I've done that negative. I've taken away another chore and I'm doing it because you did all of this. So I'm seeing that positive, but I'm going to take away that negative because nobody likes taking out the trash. So those are positive and negative. So what's the role of punishment in behavior? I'm like, did it go? There we go. So the role of punishment in behavior. This is a huge slide. I'm so sorry. Again, I just want to give you as much possible information as I could. I'm also going to be writing up the whole behavior component into a short handout, and we're going to be posting that onto the NODC site. So you'll be able to have just some references. We're in the process of revamping the website and looking at a few things. So I'm currently writing up a ton of documents. If there's an area that you're super interested in and you would like a one-page handout, please email me and let me know, and I can write that up and get that onto the website for you as well. But there's definitely one on punishment and behavior and the positive and negative. So we know that punishment is hard. You know, how do you punish? Because if you punish, are you going to escalate the behavior? Are you going to escalate just them in general? Well, now you have a meltdown. How do you handle this? So we're looking at the positive and the negative. We're going to add a factor to decrease the behavior, or we're going to remove a factor to decrease the behavior. We know that sometimes punishment is the only option. You know, we have to, if there's a very bad behavior that is happening, we may need to change this up. We may have to, switch it to get the desired behavior that we need. So we're going to take a look at switching it up. So here's our positive and our negative. Our positive is adding something unpleasant in order to decrease behavior. So detention for talking in class, additional chores for a negative behavior and not completing a chore, telling the misbehaving child, to clean up their room or to, you can't do that. Other examples of positive punishment include teaching manners early, rewarding good behavior, and providing positive reinforcement like attention and praise. So if we were to remove something pleasant in order to decrease the behavior, that negative, we're going to take away a preferred item. We're going to take away the iPad. We're going to take away that toy, that activity. We start to look at disciplinary measures like grounding or sending them to their room to decrease that undesired behavior. But as it says on here that we really want to try to make it as a last resort, and always give a clear indication of why you're doing it. Why are we doing this? What is happening? What is your behavior leading me into doing? Remember, our individuals, they are smart. They know, and they know the rules. What is the rule? And what happens if you don't follow the rule? So let's get into some interventions. So social skills. There's no one method to teach social skills that works for all students. Evidence shows that many approaches can be effective. So when we talk about social skills, you're getting into that social skills group. We need that social skills group class. It starts to teach that desired behavior, which is what we want, but we need repetitive instruction. If it's a social skills group that changes it weekly, you might not get that repetitive instruction which you need, because if it happens once, are we going to remember it? Remember, we have to teach this. This is something that has to be taught. Oh, hang on. We're going to go this way. So social skills programs are ineffective. Why? The dosage. You get like this once a week, you get a contrived situation. We're going to set this up. And so then they learn that automatic response. I remember watching a kid And super smart, bright kid. He knew the rules. I tested him on all those rules. I gave him a pragmatic test and he scored really well. And then I went to observe him in this classroom and I watched him get up from his chair, go over to somebody else who was walking around and go, "You're not supposed to get out of your chair." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. When did the rules not apply to you?" And that was pretty much it. The rules didn't apply to him because he went over and had to tell her the rules, hey, you're not following the rules. You're getting out of your chair. And, so it was interesting to see, yeah, I know the rules, but am I using them? No. So again, that decontextualized setting, it's hard to learn those. That failure to match skill deficit with the type of intervention strategy. Not every social skills group is matched evenly. You get like some lower kids in there, you get some higher kids in there, and they might not all be working on the same thing because they're all different. Maybe there is failure to access social skills prior to intervention. Use of ambiguous intervention objects. The therapy just might be too set up just in a different way, where they're having difficulty understanding, what are we studying right now? Why is it like this? So again, it becomes too contrived. A lack of programming and poor implementation of interventions. You have to know what is being worked on in your social skills group so you can carry over that at home. How are they teaching it? Because you have to teach that the same way at home to get generalization. So here, how to develop social skills and to teach your child about emotions. This is really you. You're going to teach emotional competence. You're going to talk about feelings. You see your child so happy. Oh my gosh, you're so happy right now. You're so proud. Throw additional words in there. Why are you so proud? What happened today? You did a good thing. You're going to put that out there for them so they have the words to go with the feelings that they have. Talk about your own. I am so happy that you brought this to me. Wow, you had such good grades. Your hard work is making me so happy. You're going to talk about this. You're going to, well, the example here, when you don't pay attention to me, it makes me feel frustrated and sad. So there's a good way to encourage those social skills with eye contact. Well, are you paying attention to me? I don't know if you're listening to me, and I'm going to get frustrated. I don't want to get frustrated. A big thing with speech and language and social skills is putting it on yourself. It's not a you thing. It's not you're doing this. It's me. I wasn't ready. I'm sorry. I had this in my hand. I'm going to put that down. I wasn't ready. Can you say that again? Or I'm getting upset. Let them know how you're feeling to where then you can explain the situation from your perspective and then incorporate their perspective. Discuss what kinds of situations make us feel bad and when things make us feel good. You would think that it would inherently be easy to determine this, but for our kids, put that vocabulary out there for them. When parents explain emotions and their causes, children learn how to better regulate their own feelings. This is so true. You're going to sit there and talk about how you're feeling. I'm feeling sad today. I'm feeling frustrated. I had a bad day at work. I'm frustrated and I'm a little sad. This is what happened to me. And then they start to understand the feelings and emotions that you are. So, because you're explaining it within your environment. This is stuff that happens every day. As your therapist, I'm only with your child 1% of their week. The rest of the time, they're at school or they're with you. So you are so important to them. So the home is the best environment and it is your best model. Your other children, your friends, your family, get them involved. This is the best way to support social skills. Now, when they see you and they see you talking about what you're feeling and they see you incorporating that into your daily life, then they understand it and they start to represent it and internalize it. They will start to adapt to situations. They're going to develop their capacity for empathy. It's not necessarily where things have to be happy all the time, because they're not. Nothing is happy all the time. And when you're not having a good day, let them know. Let them know that you can emotionally change. And then that teaches them about emotional regularity, so they can regulate their emotions. I'll say that better. And then they can turn around and say how they're feeling. And if they're not having a good day, because they just saw you not have a good day, and maybe they'll internalize that and know that it's okay not to have a good day. We had a kid at the office, and I'm outside the room and I'm tempted to go in there because I hear her just arguing with her therapist. And her mom is coming up to me and she's like, should I go in? And I'm like, no, let's see what happens. And we're just listening. And I hear her and she's like, I am not okay today. And the therapist is like, and that's okay. She's like, no, I am not okay today. And she's like, and that's okay. So we ended up making a t-shirt out of that, because I think we all needed to be reminded that it's okay not to be okay. And so from there, they ended up making a big lesson about why it was okay not to be okay. And it worked so well for her. And then she came out another day, and she's like, I'm okay today. It was a good day. And I was like, fabulous. Like, I like this. But then there are times where she has her breakdowns and she's not okay. And she has said it again. And she said, I am not okay today. And we could not calm her down. So we're just really trying to give her all of the skills that she needs in order to be okay. So the key is demonstrating that positive can-do attitude towards setbacks rather than anger. So it's okay. It is okay to be, not okay. And it is okay to be upset. And it is okay to be angry. So you want to talk to your child about their world. Discuss their experiences with peers. It should be just everyday conversation. Hey, I saw you talk. What were you guys talking about? Oh my gosh. What do you know about him? What does he like? We can kind of get into those little conversations about peers. These are going to help in several ways. It's going to keep you informed about who your child is talking to and what interactions they're having in case there is some side bullying happening. But it's also going to help you encourage your child and give them the tools to go back and continue that friendship. You want to show that your child that you're interested in their social life. And it's so hard, even with typical teens and peers, and because they don't tell you. You don't get to know that kind of stuff. But you want to, like, hey, you can do what you need to do, and that's fine. And I'm here for you. I think we always talk about the importance of showing up. And for our kids, that's a big thing. When they see you out there and they see that you've shown up, then they see that and they internalize it. During everyday social interactions, take advantage of those opportunities to discuss social behaviors. I think we all get out there sometimes and we open the door and we say, thank you. Gosh, I said thank you because that was so nice. Wasn't that so nice of them to open the door for me? It just highlighting those social situations where we can incorporate social skills and language into that. If your child sees what you and other adults are slipping up, talk about it. Oh my gosh, I did not tell Daddy, thank you so much for bringing that in today. I did not do this. Point that out. I mean, we're all human, and let them know that I'm not perfect and I'm going to slip up too, but I recognize it. And then hopefully as, time goes on, they will start to incorporate that into their daily life. Nonverbal skills are huge. Facial expressions, body language. We want to watch TV. Pause it. What happened there? Looking at their face. What do you think is going to happen? Oh my gosh. How do you think they're feeling right now? What's going on? You want to put all of that out on there. Watching TV with the sound off is huge because you have to basically internalize. You have to see what's going on. You have to use your skills. You can put like words down there to help them out. How do you think they're feeling? Pick a word. And you can project that into that TV show that you're watching. Predict what they're thinking, what they're saying, and have them really start to observe their facial gestures. That's a great skill. Your tone of voice. This is a tough one because we all think about tone of voice. We want to watch our tone, but your tone does so much. A great thing to use is just record. Record your kids, record different emotions, practice. How would you say this sentence if you were happy? How would you say this if you were sad? How would you ask this in a question? Can you hear the tone and the inflection rise up when you ask a question? You're listening for that. Did Joe go to work? It should go up. It's not, did Joe go to work? It's not flat. So you should listen to that. Have them listen to that rise and fall and get those emotions. How do you think they're feeling? And you can always make a game out of it. You know, I'm going to play a sentence. Tell me, what do you think they're feeling? And then you incorporate the facial feature with the expression. Okay, what did the face tell you with that? Did it match? That's a great way to kind of work with it. Try recording phrases like I'm angry in a loud, empathetic voice. I feel so sad in a soft, low voice. So they're going to learn what it sounds like. So attention to topic or task. If they have trouble staying on point, pick a topic and say 3 sentences, 2 related topic and 1 random. And kind of see what, then ask your child to pick the sentence that's off topic. So if you bring up the family dog and you're talking about the family dog, and then you throw in something about eating a cheeseburger. And what was the sentence that doesn't belong? And then see if they can do it. And that's where it gets interesting because sometimes they do 3 sentences that are connected. You're like, wait, where was the off topic sentence? So they're not identifying their own off topic behavior. So here, this says, you know, if you're going to talk about the family dog, talk about how he played outside, what he did at the dog park, and then say something about the weather. So kind of the same thing. Let's get into some websites. All right. So these are just some tools. You have Play and Social Skills Developmental Checklist. And this is just a free checklist. Social Thinking is a website that has some really great information. It's by Michelle Garcia Winner. And Pamela Crook is on there. They've done like a lot of really great research for social skills. A lot of it is intended for individuals with autism, but it can be modified. Everyday Speech is a membership site. It gives you videos, it gives worksheets, and it's really great because you can pick the skill that you're working on and you can do a couple videos and then you can do the worksheet to it. And then there's another instructional worksheet that you can do later on. So it's really kind of going into multiple levels because it gives you a beginning skill, an intermediate skill, and an advanced skill. Again, remember these are contrived. So these are a great way to start teaching the social skills and then taking it out into the real world or into your home. More websites. Like, did it switch? I can't tell. There we go. Thank you. Carol Gray, Social Stories. This is an oldie but a goodie. Where you write a social story. If you're having difficulty, I don't want to go to the dentist. You write a social story about it. There are lots of examples on the internet about how to write a social story. And it's just something that they know that they help you write. You write it together. They get to read it before. It helps decrease anxiety. And it gives them the expectation of what's happening. What isn't a social story? This is a downloadable PDF when you're writing your social stories. So kind of just, this is how you write a social story. Don't do it like, you want to make sure you're doing it the right way. ASHA has the 4 social communication components, and it's a great blog and a website for therapy ideas, and it has free downloads on social and emotional skills. You can find things easily with the types of social skills being broken up into different sections. Always wanting to look for something that gives you different levels, that beginning, intermediate, advanced, or different skills within there, because it just continues the learning. Video shorts. This is a Pinterest board and it's dedicated to short videos. I pull them into my sessions. You can pull them into there and you can talk about it. You can turn the sound off. You can work on those facial expressions. You can start doing higher level language skills of predicting, engaging, inferencing, emotions, cause and effect, problem solving. That's a great one for that. And then Blank Comics is another Pinterest board, and it has videos that target important skills like inferencing, predicting emotions, cause and effect. But that's a great one, and they're just comics, and it's just an easy Pinterest board for you to pull up. This one here is another subscription one, but it's a new one that my staff really likes. It supports neurotypical neurodiversity. The characters on there are just like fairies and just like they're kind of odd characters. And so there's nothing really too descriptive about them. It really works on self-advocacy, which is nice. And you get to kind of prep it, get it going, and then you can pull it into what you're doing. It is a subscription, as I said, so there is a fee for this one. So I think you can find like the Pinterest ones are great, and some of the other resources are a little bit easier than having to pay for a subscription. Here are some games. There we go. The original mood flip book for kids. This is 20 different moods, emotions, autism, ADHD. You can help identify feelings and emotions, make positive choices. There's Mad Dragon, which is an anger control card book. Mad Dragon's a good one. We start getting too big in those feelings. You want to control them. Let's bring them back down a little bit. Golden Path Games has mixed emotions for cognitive behavioral therapy. And My Feelings game is kind of a great little family game where you get to express their emotions. And then you learn some self-regulation in there as well. This one has a lot of endorsements. I see someone taking a picture, so let me know if I'm going too fast, guys. Here's some apps. We love apps. Social Story Creator and Library. I'm hoping these prices are correct. You can create your own, you can share, you can, there's other printable stories on there for social stories. And it's a great way to kind of learn how to write a social story. So if you wanted to write something specific, you can kind of model them from there. ChoiceWorks is, you can make schedules, tasks, you can do weighting. It's preloaded with 180 visuals, but you can also make your own. Let's see. Between the Lines is 3 apps for different levels. The main focus is listening skills, body language, and expression. Again, using these are great, but you have to take them and put them into real life situations. So you can talk about this. Oh my gosh, remember how that was on your app? Look, we're doing it right now. Or, oh, what do you see right there? I see it happening. So I'm always wanting to take it into the home, into that real life situation so they make the connection and it's not so contrived. Social Detective. This is based on the work by Michelle Garcia Winner in her social thinking curriculum. You're kind of looking at expected and unexpected behavior. So when we go here, this is what I expect you to do. You're acting like this, and that's unexpected behavior. So you kind of get into a little bit of that on the app, which is fun. Another one here, Conversation Builder. This is an app for conversation skills, turn taking, initiating conversations, and staying on topic. For this one here, you're going to really use like that one-on-one session or in group. I like to do everything first one-on-one to make sure that the individual really understands what the task is asking them. There are 160 conversations to choose from, and you can do this one at home. You're working on conversations. You can either initiate or respond to a conversation. and the price there. And I know doesn't help now, but April 2nd is World Autism Acceptance Day. That's the best day to look for apps. A lot of apps will either get marked down by 50% or sometimes they're free that day. So if you ever want like a big purchase app and you're just like, oh my, this is just too pricey and you can wait until that day, that's a good day to check because it might be on sale. Let's Be Social is 20 social skills lessons. You can create your own lessons as well. I don't like that it's only 20 and you have to create your own. I mean, for the price, I think there's other ones and I think there's other formats out there. The Pinterest board is a good one. And then emotions, this app has over 500 real emotion photos. Again, photos are tough because not everybody looks like that and not everybody makes the same face in that photo to express that emotion. Because there are 500 photos, you kind of get a good variety and it's a great place to start. But again, you need to take it from that picture as soon as possible and put it into a real life setting. And then here, just wrapping up, you want to make sure that you're prepared to educate others for years. I mean, you are your child's advocate for the rest of their life. You want to make sure they know about their diagnosis. Again, on the NODCC website, we are working on letters to parents, to teachers for all the different types of DCC, explaining to them what it is and then telling them a little bit about your own child so you can give that to teachers. We're working on a family and friends letter. You always want to, let individuals know about your child, but make sure that they're included in, the social aspect of it. You have to educate individuals on your child, their diagnosis, their needs, their wants, and what makes them so special. Let me see. So here is, there we go. There is my email. You're more than welcome to email me. You're more than welcome to call me. And I'm happy to give you any sites that you need. If you have a question about something specific, I'm happy to answer those now. I don't know if we have any online. Right. Can you bring me my phone, please? The assistant daughter is here for the conference. My DCC granddaughter, 22, was late to speak, 6 years old and has had many years of speech therapy. Her speech has deteriorated and she is exiting the school system. Are there programs that might help her practice speaking skills? You'd probably have to look to see, I don't know where you're located, what's in there, but there used to be Toastmasters, which is a great group where people learn to communicate in front of others and do just talks. A lot of hospitals will have communication groups for individuals, which you might be able to be a part of through your insurance. I have a high functioning 14-year-old daughter who still wants to play with Barbies and dolls, which I attribute to her routine behavior. How do I help her transition to more age appropriate activities, but still allow her to be herself? Yeah, that's what we were talking about, really, where our kids like to play at that level. I would kind of take a look at her intellectual level, her peer level. And if that's where she's kind of functioning, then she's functioning appropriately. But if you're trying to get her to go up a little bit more, I think it's a matter of finding that close friend who maybe has an older child, might not be at her age, but somebody who's older and has different interests, where you can start doing things with them and exposing her to different types of interest that for a short amount of time, to where it's not pushed upon her and it's not forced. And then ask her how did that go? How did you like it? And is this something you want to try again? See if there's some social activities out there that she can do with older individuals. Summertime is a great one to join some summer activities. if you have your community center and they have those older activities where she's able to do that, if you can find a camp where she can go to and interact with individuals her own age. Yeah. What other questions do we have? Okay. I know we don't have a mic. There's a mic there. Those work. If you want to jump on that one, and I'll do my best to answer all your questions.
We have our son, I think over time his eye contact has deteriorated. He might speak with us, looking at us, but most of the time he's looking down, has his hands up over his head, forcing his head down. And I know that I've been picking up on making eye contact, but I'm dad, so I'm a bully.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you said about forced eye contact may not be the best thing. I was hoping you can speak a little bit more of that. How do I encourage, because it affects he's been homeschooled for the past few years.
Yeah.
He's about to go into high school as a junior for the first time.
So he's 13, 14?
17.
Okay.
So we want to prepare him to be able to be more engaging. Right now, he's playing with trains to avoid everybody else that's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I was hoping you could speak to facial recognition and contact.
Studies have shown that eye contact for some individuals is very uncomfortable. So when you're doing that forced eye contact, you're increasing their anxiety.
My concern.
Yeah. And so we have to kind of look out for that. So that's where that little peak kind of comes in, that little social kind of, where you're giving that positive reinforcement of, oh my God, thank you so much for looking at me. I know you're thinking about me. Thanks. Or, oh, I know you understood what I said because you looked at me. You're just giving those little cues. I'm not going to force you to look at me, because then you get that awkward kind of teenage where they just, and the attitude that goes with it. But if you can, get them to kind of go up and, look at what your eyes are thinking about, that's always important. I think it's with our individuals, it's really the positive reinforcement. Thank you so much for acknowledging me. I know you saw me. Thank you. And they start to see that. Or you do devil's advocate, which I'm very good at, and I do this a lot. So how's it going? What? You want what? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. That works really well with little ones. With older ones, you're just gonna get the God. But definitely try like the positive, more positive reinforcement. That might help. You're welcome. Yeah.
So my 15-year-old daughter used to be a very social butterfly, loved talking to people, going up to everyone, peers, younger, but now at 15, seems to have decided that she's an introvert, and so is very much isolating. Like any pictures with friends in elementary school, she was the one hugging her friends, and now she's at least a foot apart from everyone. And I don't know how to, do we allow her to continue to identify as introverted and continue to, it seems like she's forcing herself to self-isolate.
Yeah, I would want to know why. Why what's changed? I feel like if she's was that way, then
COVID.
Then what happened?
It was the COVID, the
Oh.
pandemic, because she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes during the pandemic.
Yes.
She went through all of that alone.
And now she just has to get back out there. Is there like a small group of girls that you could bring in?
We've tried, but she is fixated on I'm an introvert, so I don't like people. And it's trying to
get past that.
Yeah, because my husband is an introvert.
Yeah.
And so, so now she kind of clings onto him. Well, I'm an introvert like dad. And so then I'm the weird one because I'm the extrovert and I like to ask questions. And that's like how she kind of categorizes us. And
Have you done the whole like introvert, extrovert, what it means to be one? And then what are the positive and negatives of each?
no. Okay.
So yeah, there's a positive to being an extrovert, but there's also a negative to being an extrovert.
Right.
And there's positives and negatives to being an introvert. And looking at the whole positive and negative, but looking at friendships, looking at making relationships. What's the positive and negative and how do you bridge that gap where she's comfortable?
Okay.
So I would probably go positive, negative on both. So cause she's right now, she's just negative, negative you. You're this, you're that, you're this.
Yeah.
But what's the positive of being an extrovert? You know, I'm doing this, this, and this. I'm here, I'm there. You know, I'm definitely an introverted extrovert. You get me up here and I'm animated and I'm great. You get me in therapy and I'm definitely that way. You get me in a room of people just at a party and I'm
Mhm.
happily to oh, time to go.
That was me last night. Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, and I'm done. But like this type, I'm such an extrovert. So, you know, you have both. And maybe then you explain to her it's okay to be both.
Okay.
You know, what qualities do you want to pull from each one and take it that way?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
You're
very-
so welcome. I have as much time as you need. I am yours until I think 1 o'clock.
Okay. Well, this kind of bridges a little bit of that. I just wanted to offer some, my son was also like that. He's 20 now. Had tons of friends. And then the older he got, the more I think the reason why I think it happened, plus he was during high school during the pandemic, during a very important social connecting time. But I think he's so much more aware how he's different. And perhaps, I don't know, maybe your daughter, that's an easier way to deal that she's, other than that she's not connecting as well. If she's an introvert, then she doesn't have to put herself out there. I feel like my son at 20 is becoming an introvert when he wasn't as well. I just think it's the very much
It's
kind
a
of
coping.
different, and it's safer this way
Yeah.
than realizing I'm not the same, or they don't quite get me, or I'm on the outside. I think it's sometimes a protection measure, but I definitely noticed a difference in all students after COVID. When I
Yeah.
was the first semester back, for example. Anyway, on the same topic, my son, I noticed there's so much stuff for younger kids. Once they age out of the system, and again, my son didn't get a lot of services because of COVID during that really crucial time.
Mhm.
So he kind of aged out. I mean, he did age out when he graduated, and now he's 20, and there's
Right.
nothing really for them.
Yeah.
There's speech things, speech conversations and meeting groups for autistic kids on different levels of the spectrum, but there's nothing kind of for him. You know, he doesn't really identify. So I don't know, two things regarding this adult who struggles, but very smart, but has slow speech because of recall.
Right.
He has a lot of anxiety, so that shuts down his speaking ability. He freezes when there's new questions or unfamiliar things, but he can be very verbal when he's comfortable. So two things on that. The letter that you were speaking about for teachers and people like that, that's great. I wrote one a long time ago and it worked really well. But now that he's an adult, my question was kind of twofold. One, is there something maybe your group could look into regarding kind of like a blank template for adults, kind of like how to express it? My son doesn't want to tell people about it, but he needs to. He doesn't want to tell, he doesn't want to talk about it. And when he does, it gets more anxious. So maybe there's something that could be done regarding adults who don't want to exactly, they want to explain themselves, but they don't know. It's so overwhelming, all the different things with ACC. It's not like someone who can say, oh, I have autism, and people now know, just now, kind of what that means.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. But if you start talking about missing a part of your brain or something, because he's complete ACC, he feels it's just too much for him to say anything.
Right.
So I was wondering if you know of anything, or if maybe you could think about that as well in the future, anybody in your field, like to help the adults who straddle between appearing normally and speaking normally in certain situations, but completely not being able to speak in others. Just that kind of like bridge of how can I explain this to people so I don't think I'm completely unable to do anything. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's one of the things that I know the board has recognized And Catherine Claxton, I don't know if you know her, but she has kind of taken on, and so has Jasmine Turner, a lot of the adult stuff. And I see Catherine every week because I see her kid. So every week we talk, and she's also on the PAC with me. So I've just made a note to her right now about this. But I think it's a great idea. I know we're looking at that gap. And I feel that as a society, not necessarily our kids with DCC, but all kids and all adults, I should say, young adults, we have failed them. We give them through high school and then it's boom, you're done. And if you go to college, you might get some assistance there, but it's like a note taker or it's more academic related. It's not anything beyond that. So
No social component. which
so
is-
yeah, they're done. It's like, what happened? So then you hope that they find a good group of friends. You hope that you have maybe a church study group or an interest there. Maybe they volunteer. I know some individuals who do volunteer at hospitals or they volunteer with other groups just to get that social piece going. I know that there are, like, as I said, there's like Toastmasters that teaches you how to speak, but it gets you out there. But you have to find like that interest.
Right. The hard part, I think, for my son, he works, but the boys or the young men that work, I mean, he works part-time, at a big store, but, they are on a different level, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's highly intelligent. It's kind of keeping up with the speed of the quick way they kind of make jokes or talk about, say, girls and things like that. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Mhm.
He's kind of not there yet. I feel he had an unfortunate situation because when I saw kids right out of COVID, they were all socially struggling like I've never seen before. And these were young adults, freshmen in college. It was hugely impactful for the average neurotypical child. So I think but in general, I've heard these kids, adults become adults, they're more isolated. They have a high level of depression. And really, I think it has to do with social.
Mhm.
In first grade, we didn't know his diagnosis till he was over 10. But he struggled and no one knew why. And I worried about him in first grade. And the first grade teacher said, he is so social. He gets along with everybody. And that's what you need to succeed.
Right.
You don't need to be
But the
best in
skills have
school,
gotten harder.
right? Yeah.
The social demand is harder and it's
Right.
quicker and it has to keep up with his cognitive load as well.
And
And
it's more nuanced
Mhm.
and because he feels different. And when he freezes, he can't really explain why.
Right.
So the judgments are there. And it's a kind of the same thing when it started as a teenager, it just blew up during COVID.
Yeah.
And then was worse. And now he's an adult, boom, COVID, graduate, he's an adult. Now he's out there.
Yeah, and this
so-
is you're bringing up such a great like point. And as I said, it is something that the board is definitely looking at, and maybe within our regions, because now that we have that, we can start getting these groups going, whether they're online or they're like Jasmine, as I said, Jasmine Turner, she's doing a lot of the adult stuff right now, and I'm definitely going to reach out to her and kind of let her know that this was brought up to me because this is a need. And I think this conference, especially, I think last conference, we were all talking about our adults, but this conference, we are more hyper focused on our adults and what we need to do because there's so much that we need to do for them that we're just kind of, we get like so child focused because they're at that early stages and doing what we can. But now we're here and now we have this set of adults that need consistent help and they need that. So I'm going to reach out to her to see if I can like find any information. If I would love to get your contact information.
Oh, yeah, sure. I
So-
have a lot of ideas, but I don't know as much as you guys. I have learned and studied this, but I'm a good observer. I can kind of see, in general that I know these kids need it. Probably all kids need it at this point with the cell phones, but you know what I mean? Like, cause they're looking at their cell phones at a table, but I mean, these kids need it more because I think they turn inward. My son was so social for so long, all
Right.
the way until high school, boom. But again, and now he's not, and it's so sad for me. I really, he needs friends. He needs to be able to
Right.
feel he belongs. And that's why I was thinking about a letter. Maybe there could be a group discussion with the adults
Mhm.
who could come together with some general idea, kind of cobble together as a group, what they might have as a template, especially for people that freeze like my son, just to kind of have there, it's kind of like having a note on your phone when you want to remember to ask a question, something there just during stressful times like interview or going to a party. If there's some unusualness, they can maybe explain it in different ways. Maybe the adults could come up with a few ideas of things to say. Not everyone's comfortable with saying, I have ACC. What's that? Oh, well, I'm missing my corpus callosum. What's that? It's a part of the brain that's missing. Oh, so you're missing a part of your brain? You know, that kind of conversation.
Yep.
Maybe they could find fun, different ways that are comfortable.
No,
So
and you're bringing up
that
a wonderful,
fits-
my brain's kind of going right now because I loved your idea of like the different situations and scenarios, because we could do that. Like what do like mock job interview, mock friend
Right.
this, mock, this, and have those types of situations to where those could even be,
Just look at a sheet, kind of like before you prepare
Mhm.
for a test, just so they can have something if they really need it.
right?
Desperate to need it, they can have it.
Yeah.
My son, when he was struggling in freshman year in high school, he couldn't talk to the teachers about exactly what it was, but when he was in the car and we were driving, he could speak so quickly because I learned from his neuropsych evaluation that when you're emotional based, language is much easier because it circumvents the corpus callosum. Because I was trying to explain to her, he says such eloquent analogies of how he's feeling, how he's struggling, but he can't do that sometimes in front of people. So I started to say, can you write it down on your phone? And then I would copy that and share it with his teachers. This is
Mhm.
how he's feeling. Sometimes it was like a boat that has a whole bunch of holes that you can't plug, a very traditional one. Or one time he said he's running on a treadmill when, school things were happening and he can't run fast enough. So he keeps falling on the treadmill, but the treadmill keeps going. So he's like hitting the
Right,
treadmill. I mean,
right.
he had all these analogies and I thought, he can't remember the time when he's struggling. He can't remember what he said. But I thought, Jojo, you should write these down and keep them. So if you feel like any of these things at any time, you could just show somebody it. I
Yeah.
had the same idea where you have like a written thing from the ACCers of different situations that they could kind of like have,
Yeah.
like
Just a
pick and
quick
choose.
little cheat sheet.
Kind of like how kids are nonverbal, have
Mhm.
different faces. This will just give them something if they need it. And
Right.
it's kind of like when you're learning to speak in front of a crowd, you have your notes and then you don't need your notes as much.
Right.
But if they don't know, they
Yeah.
can kind of just like find it. And I think if it comes from them, it's much more.
Much more impactful and it's more meaningful when it does come from them. But I think what you really brought up was, no, thank you so much. You brought up the great point was when I was speaking about like what happens when they're little, but then that gap starts to develop.
Yeah.
And then now we're starting to see this introvert come in and they're
Yeah.
starting to see this withdrawal because the anxiety is going up and that just, I don't want to deal with it and I'm being bullied.
That's
And that
exactly what he
recognition
does.
of I'm having difficulties with this and I don't want to be a part of this. So this is where we're at right now. And this is where we need to help our adults. Yeah, good
Okay,
point.
sorry
Thank you
for
so
all the
much. No,
content.
thank you. Lovely point.
I just kind of wanted to add to that, because, one of the parents had mentioned something in one of the groups yesterday. She mentioned that her son, keeps his, AC&C and me in his backpack. And he hands it out to everyone on his bus, has read it. He gives it to a new teacher, he gives it to a new boss, and it just articulates it better. We haven't done that ourselves. Yeah. Maybe just have an experiment with it once and then or twice and say, was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? Did it work or did it not? Okay,
Huh.
I just thought that was neat.
No, that's a great one. But I
Yeah.
think having that just one little page cheat sheet. Yeah. It's very, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll have a bunch of ideas to choose from, so it's not so overwhelming. Like maybe I don't want to do this one. It's like how you give adults in a class, like here are your options on an essay, which one you want to do or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when it comes from me, it's like, ugh. But when it comes from their peers, it's so much more meaningful. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Question for our son. He has extreme apraxis.
Mhm. That was
uh,
the talk before this.
Just
kidding.
oh, I missed it. With just know he didn't have any volitional control over anything.
Mhm.
So even blowing, you would tell him to blow out a candle and
Mhm.
he'll inhale or he'll just make lips like
Right.
and not do anything. I just, no volitional control.
Yeah.
So his speech is mud. He's 17. Well, one, do you have any tips on generalization? I know that's the magic bullet.
You know,
The other is, with him being 17, are we coming to a close of a window of him being able to improve his speech at all? Is there a window we should be
neuroplasticity
aware of?
is always available. It's just a matter now of finding the right type of practice. I had an 18-year-old who for the longest time couldn't make a bunch of sounds and then ended up getting his wisdom teeth cut. And because the parents were or his wisdom teeth taken out and parents were so concerned about, going under anesthesia, that's when they decided to finally clip his tongue. So we ended up getting more range of motion and we got all these other sounds. And that was at 18, 19. So, I mean, the ability is there. It's just the right type of practice. It's consistency of practice. Is practicing every day. Can we make a ton of progress? I don't know. I'm not too sure about your child, depending upon his type of apraxia, because it sounds like he has apraxia of speech and oral apraxia, which are two totally different things.
Oh,
Because you can have apraxia of speech and not have oral apraxia. Yeah.
I haven't even heard that phrase. We'll have to talk. Oral apraxia being different.
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
That opens some things up. It's funny you had mentioned the frenulum. We were actually with an SLP. She had like a different specialty. I think maybe, something tongue, maybe not swallowing, but we were actually thinking about that. And while we were in the class, while we were talking, he actually yawned and we saw him bring his tongue up without intending to. We could never make him do it.
Right.
But suddenly we knew that he was capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of segue a way to get him to do it volitionally.
Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest part. It really is with our apraxia. We're totally getting off into another topic here. But if you want, I can stick around and I can definitely talk to you. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions related to social skills. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, I have a 16-year-old and she's in high school. She receives speech therapy over there. And I was curious, do you have any goals that can transfer those social skills into the classroom? Like you were talking about when they have social skills, it's isolated in the room. Is there,
How do we get those social
How
skills to
do we get-
generalize?
yeah, it's not how we get them to generalize, but how can we put a goal in the IP so she will get some kind of support outside? You know how like
Yeah.
you were talking in the moment, someone needs to be there to catch it.
Mm-hmm. I
Because she
think
doesn't catch it.
you would want to make sure that your goal is the way, and when it's written, that you have every person responsible for it. So it's the general ed teacher, or the teachers, the SLP, the OT, whoever, whatever services she gets, everybody is responsible for it. And it would be written in opportunities. So maybe in 4 out of 5 opportunities. So it wouldn't be a percentage goal, because social skills should never be a percentage goal, because you can't do something 80% accurate. You either did it or you didn't do it. So that's why it should always be a 4 out of 5 or whatever, 3 out of 5 should always be some sort of an out of trials goal. But I think you could definitely get it written into the IEP depending upon what you're looking at. If you want a nice general goal for, will engage with peers over 3 conversational exchanges in, different settings. So that could be in different classrooms, in the hallway, in PE. So putting it within different settings, whatever your goal is. So then you're engaging everybody who sees her and everybody who's involved.
Okay, so just having everybody as an owner of the goal is how we make them, because I
Yeah.
know she does that, she has that goal, but I think.
Oh, does she?
But I think it's just isolated in.
It's probably just in speech. It's
in the
probably just the
speech,
speech therapist.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
putting it in different settings.
different, okay.
So you have to do in different settings, and then you have to add the speech path, the general ed teacher, the APE teacher. You have to add everybody onto it,
Okay, perfect.
and everybody's responsible for it.
All right, thank you.
You're so welcome. Any other questions? Cool. Thank you guys so much for having me. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.